The sky had been strange all day, low, bruised and swollen with thunder, like a wound that refused to close. Sarah Whitlock knew that kind of sky. She'd seen it before the night her husband died, and she'd seen it before the barn caught fire, when screams of horses had echoed through the valley. Out here in the Wild West, storms didn't just arrive, they hunted. And tonight Sarah felt like prey again. She stood on her porch, the hem of her dress whipping in the wind, eyes fixed on the dark horizon. Her hand rested on the wooden railing, trembling, not from cold, but from the weight of her loneliness. Widowhood had become her only companion since her husband, Tom Whitlock, was killed 3 winters ago when a skirmish with an Apache war party turned bloody. She had lived with that silence ever since, talking only to the wind. When the first raindrop hit her cheek, it was as cold as a knife. The next second, the heavens split open. Thunder crashed like a cannon over the valley. Sarah rushed inside, slamming the door, clutching her shawl close. The storm howled through the trees, rattling the windows as if trying to tear her home apart. She lit a lantern, its flame flickering with fear. Then through the chaos, she heard something soft, distant, but human. A cry. At first, she thought it was an animal. But no, this was a child. A voice calling through the rain. She froze, listening again. The cry came once more, weak, desperate. Without a thought, she grabbed her coat and ran into the storm. The wind screamed. Mud pulled at her boots. Lightning ripped across the sky, lighting up the valley like a battlefield. She ran, calling out, "Hello? Who's there?" Then she saw him. A small boy lay trapped under a fallen tree, his tiny hands clawing at the mud. His skin was brown like wet earth, his dark hair tangled and soaked. Around his forehead was a red and blue beaded band, a single feather drooping against his cheek. He was no settler's child. He was Apache. Sarah stopped in her tracks. Her breath caught. Old fear clawed at her heart. The same fear that had stolen her husband and burned her home. She could turn away, let the storm finish what it had started. But as another flash of lightning struck, she saw the boy's eyes, wide, terrified, pleading. And suddenly hate had no place in her heart anymore. She dropped to her knees in the mud. "Hold on, child," she cried. The fallen branch pinning his chest was heavy, nearly thicker than her arm. She pushed, gritting her teeth, every muscle screaming. Rain lashed her face. Mud filled her nails and thunder roared. But she didn't stop. With a final heave, the branch rolled free. The boy gasped for air, trembling. Sarah pulled him into her arms, shielding him from the wind. "You're safe now, sweetheart," she whispered, though the truth was far from it. Above them, the great oak creaked again, its roots half ripped from the ground. "God help us," she whispered, and then she threw herself over the boy just as the tree came crashing down. The world exploded in sound. Branches shattered, mud splashed, and rain swallowed everything. When silence returned, Sarah opened her eyes. The tree had missed them by inches. She looked down. The boy blinked up at her. "You saved me?" he stammered. Sarah nodded, exhausted. "Yes, child, I did." He reached for the feather that had fallen beside him. She took his small hand, her heart softening. "Let's get you out of the rain." Together they stumbled back to the cabin, the storm still raging behind them like a living thing. When they finally crossed the threshold, she collapsed beside the fire, wrapping the boy in a quilt. Steam rose from their soaked clothes. The boy sat silent, eyes wary. "What's your name?" she asked gently. "Taka," he said. She smiled faintly. "That's a strong name. You're safe here, Taka, I promise." He hesitated, then asked softly, "Why you help me?" "White woman no help, Apache boy." Sarah stared into the fire. "Because the world's lost enough to hate," she said. Outside, the storm died down, leaving behind only the sound of dripping rain. But neither of them knew the storm had only changed shape. Somewhere beyond the hills, eyes were watching. Morning came soft and gray, the plains still wet and shining from the storm's rage. Sarah woke to the crackle of dying embers and the soft breathing of the boy beside the hearth. For the first time in years, her cabin didn't feel empty. When he opened his eyes, she offered him bread and broth. He ate cautiously, his manners humble. Between bites, he touched the small leather pendant on his chest. "My father's," he said proudly. "He big warrior, brave, he come for me." Sarah's smile faded. She prayed he was right, but she feared the kind of men who came armed for love. That night, as the fire burned low, distant hoofbeats echoed over the hills. Sarah froze. The sound was too rhythmic, too deliberate. Taka heard it too. He went pale. "My people," he whispered. The Apache had come. Sarah's heart pounded. If they found him here, they might think she'd taken him hostage. The memory of her husband's death came flooding back. The smoke. The shouts, the blood. "Taka," she said urgently. "You must hide." He shook his head, fear flashing in his eyes. "They hurt you." "I'll be fine," she lied. "Go." She opened the trap door under the floorboards, a storage space for old grain, and helped him crawl inside. "Stay quiet," she whispered. "No matter what happens." Moments later, the cabin door burst open. 3 Apache warriors entered, their faces painted with war marks, torches flickering in their hands. The leader, tall and scarred, stepped forward. "White woman alone?" he asked in rough English. Sarah nodded. "Yes." "We look for boy," he said. "Small Apache, lost in storm." Sarah forced her breath steady. "I haven't seen him." "Only the storm." The leader studied her closely. One of his men began to search the cabin, overturning chairs and boxes. His boots thudded dangerously close to the trapdoor. Beneath it, Taka held his breath, trembling. Then lightning flashed, so bright it blinded them. Horses outside neighed wildly. The leader turned to the door, barking orders in Apache. The warriors backed away, retreating into the night. Before leaving, the scarred man gave her one final look. "If you see boy," he said coldly, "you tell me." "I will," she whispered. When the silence returned, Sarah collapsed to her knees, trembling with relief. She lifted the trapdoor and Taka emerged, tears streaking his dirty face. "You lie for me," he whispered. She brushed the mud from his cheek. "Sometimes a lie is the only way to keep someone alive," she said softly. The boy looked at her with new eyes, no longer a stranger but something closer. Outside, the plains stretched endless and quiet. But both of them knew peace would not last. Taka's father was still out there, and so was vengeance. Yet in that fragile moment, beneath the whisper of the wind, Sarah realized something profound. Maybe the storm hadn't come to destroy her life. Maybe it had come to give her a reason to live again. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. A greater storm is still coming in Chapter 3, when mercy meets vengeance, and the widow must face the Apache chief himself. Stay tuned for more Wild West legends only on Wild West Hearts, where every story rides with thunder.